Welcome everybody to the Physician Society's first year survival guide. I'm Justin Pedocci.
And I'm Hester Lossa.
Today we're going to teach you how to survive MBBCh without getting traumatized.
So the main thing to remember is that you're studying a new degree, you're starting at a new university, and you're going from high school where everything is very controlled and you're being told what to do, to living on your own, taking care of yourself and managing your own work. So with that comes a lot of excitement, but also a lot of responsibility. And it's important to make sure that you maintain a good balance between working and also enjoying yourself, because academics are important, yes, but as long as you're passing, you also need to make sure that you're taking care of your mental health, your physical health, and that you're also enjoying your time at university, because it is first year. So you should be making friends, finding your feet, and getting to know the people around you. In first year with the new syllabus, you have a few courses. Your first one is Integrated Science for Medical Students, or ISMS, and this is basically your combined sciences that you write together. Then you have SAHL, Science and Art of Health and Learning, Foundations of Public Health and Health System Science, and Person, Family and Community.
I know it sounds scary doing biophysics and chem all in one paper, but it's actually your biggest advantage, and you'll find that out later in this video as well as later on in the year. So starting off with the test structure for ISMS, firstly your 4-block tests. That's your high school equivalent of cycle tests. Those I suggest you really pay attention for, because those give you an accurate breakdown of the exam. In the exam, it's about 55% of your year. Sub-minimum, 40%. But yeah, in med school, we don't go for 40s, we go for 75s. So just put the work in and you'll have your easy cum laude.
Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Emma.
I'm here to speak to you guys about ISMS, Integrated Sciences for Medical Students. This includes biology, chemistry, and physics, and as Justin said, it might be daunting, but it is an advantage. The first thing I'd like to speak about is textbooks and resources. For chemistry, physics, and bio, they do provide you with e-books, I think. That is a really good resource. That's something that you need to use alongside your lecture notes. And then also, what I found super useful in first year was using Quizlets. So using Quizlet to have key cards and stuff like that in order to test myself was very nice.
I actually used Quizlet as well, and then I also found that while I was studying, I'd write out colourful diagrams on paper, which helped me.
What I did is I often took photos from the lecture slides and then I described it using the textbooks. So I kind of integrated both resources. So regarding lectures for ISMS, out of all of your modules, I would say that ISMS is your most important module to go to lectures for. In these lectures, despite receiving the slides, you need to be there in order to receive information, and while it's a cliche, the lecturers really do tell you what is important and what's not important for your tests. In addition, there's also, I think you were talking about YouTube resources and stuff to go from the slides and continue.
So it's very useful to watch YouTube videos to supplement the lectures at your textbook. You can watch Khan Academy, Crash Course, The Organic Chemistry Tutor, Amoeba Sisters.
So additionally, labs are compulsory. I think there's 2 per week. Those are really important and you cannot miss them unless you have like a really dire situation. They're also really helpful. I find that they cover a lot of the coursework in labs. Make sure that you do the pre-lab work, even if it's not compulsory. It really helps to save time and make sure you know what's going on. Then for tutorials, those are also really important for SP, so you need to be there. And they are actually quite helpful in order to ask your TA questions, practice your work, and doing the tutorials really helps for tests because they often take tutorial questions and put them in tests, especially with physics, where it's sometimes even just copied and pasted. With submissions, your biggest submission will be your inquiry project, which is basically a group research project that involves all 3 sciences. But they give you a lot of time in order to prepare for this, and the time needs to be used strategically.
Because the submission date can be quite a busy time in your schedule.
Luckily, it is a group project, which means that you can get group marks, and at the end of the day, usually it's quite an easy mark to attain. Then for test submissions, specifically tests, when studying, it's quite overwhelming to have 3 components when studying. The way that I always did this was to mix it up. During the day, if you're studying one thing and you get bored, move on and then come back to it. Don't try and sit with the same thing for the whole day.
Science and Arts of Health and Learning. The Sea of Humanities module, essentially AP-ALO, but the way it's structured, you've got your exam as well as your portfolio component. The way to approach the subject is largely based on reflections. So as long as you link it for your reasons for choosing medicine, you're going to get an easy distinction. Next, we've got public health. This one is based on test, portfolio, and an exam. It's generally multiple choice, so you should be okay on that regard. And for those of you stressing about the HSD component and Benson, please do not worry about it just yet. it's not a first year problem.
So this course focuses on a holistic understanding of health, and then also a large component of it is health system science, which sort of navigates the health system and how healthcare is distributed to the population. So I found it quite beneficial to make connections between each of the components of the course, especially the World Health Organization building blocks of health.
Touching on that, I think the building blocks of health was the most examinable part of public health as far as I remember. So that is quite an important thing to listen to and focus on when studying.
So it's also important to do your assigned readings. I know it's quite a lot, but it does help with understanding the content, and I found it quite useful. And it's also quite beneficial to revise as often as possible. I know it's hard with all of the courses, it's a lot of content, but it will help you when you get to exam time and test time. For group projects, there's a mapping project, which is quite manageable and fun. Just make sure you allocate each group member equal amounts of work to make it easy to cope with. The recommendations report, which follows on from the mapping project, is quite big, so just make sure you put quite a lot of effort into that. And also, the lecturers are very willing to help, and if you need assistance or help with test dates coming up and clashing, they can help you with that.
Especially Dr. Clay. She's very understanding and very nice with providing support and advice.
Finally, we've got person, family, and community. This is largely portfolio-based, largely reflective-based, and it's based on the work you do in the community as well as your job shadowing and your patient component, and it's about how it affects you as a person. Not the impact you made, but how it made you a better doctor in the future.
Hi, I'm Sasha.
And I'm Kyle.
And we'll be telling you a bit about PFC 1. So PFC 1 stands for Person, Family and Community 1, and it's called PFC 1 because you do it for the second semester of first year and then again in the first semester of second year.
So PFC, as the name suggests, we focus on seeing the patient as more than just a patient, but as a person. But that person also belongs to a family, which in turn belongs to community. And all of these factors play together to influence the health and well-being of the person.
So for PFC, you have 3 main tasks which you'll have to complete throughout the last semester of first year and the beginning semester of second year. So these tasks are your patient follow-up, your healthcare practitioner shadowing, and your CDO health promoting initiative. So in your person follow-up, you'll have to find a patient which has a chronic condition, and you'll have to follow them on how they experience their condition and how they live with their condition for the designated time. For your HCP, you'll have to find a healthcare practitioner who's willing to have you shadow them and can see what they do in their daily activities, and you just get a better understanding and a more holistic perspective of the healthcare system.
But for example, it doesn't have to be limited to a physician or a surgeon. You can shadow anyone within the healthcare field. For example, one of the primary people I shadowed was a clinical associate, and from my experience, they had a much better understanding of the intricacies of the healthcare system as they had much more interactions with the patient from a more direct level. Also with nurses as well, especially when it comes to the ideas of interprofessionalism and things like that as well, which were covered in public health.
Then for your community-based organization visit, you're going to be designated to a specific NGO in the Johannesburg region, and you're going to have to create a health promoting initiative and then implement that initiative in the beginning of second year. So for the CBO and all of these visits, it's very important to reflect. One thing that I found is that I found it very easy to forget what I learned during the day. So as soon as you get home, just try write a little reflection or a little description about what you did. If you do it, but as soon as you get home, you won't have to do it later just before the submission and have to think about wonderful things that you saw.
So in addition to the lecture content you cover and the assignments you have, PFC has also introduced a workshop mode of education. So within the workshops, you get a day designated to interact with different coordinators where you cover certain topics explored throughout the curriculum. So whether it be a communication workshop where you learn non-verbal communication skills.
Workshops are very helpful, but you will have to write a reflection on them at the end as well.
And to get the most out of it, actively engage, because it may seem like a waste of time when you have test dates and assignment dates pending, but you're there, might as well make the most of it and learn something from it, especially since it not only helps you be in the right headspace to tackle your tasks like the community-based learning task, but it also helps in terms of your portfolio as it provides insights that you can reflect on and use as an artifact.
And then for tests and exams for PFC, you just have one exam at the end of the year, which is an online MCQ, short answer questions, write a couple of definitions here and there. So for this exam, I would say that the lectures that are very, very important is your lifestyle medicine lectures, which will be towards the end of the semester, and then your perhaps levels of prevention. I feel like those, in my experience, were the main questions that were asked, and because it's the only exam that you really write, it is quite important that you do prepare adequately for that exam.
Another good thing to note for the exam, especially the levels of prevention, the FMAH courses are largely integrated, so you'll cover it in public health. There are some slight variations, but at least you're not jumping into an entirely new concept. So definitely pay attention in the first half of the year. It will do you so much favors towards the end.
And top tip, PhysSoc might have an initiative to help you find an HCP to shadow.
So in your portfolio, you're going to be asked to do a lot of reflections throughout the year. A lot of people have questions on how to approach a reflection, and it is an individual thing, but there are some tips that you can use to make it easier. So firstly, look carefully at the reflection topic. A lot of times they give you little hints at what you should be pointing to as you reflect. Then look at the content that you've covered in the course in the last week that relates to the reflection, because quoting from it, explaining how you learned more about the course from your experience shows that you're really reflecting properly and that you're gaining something from the reflection. And then finally, your reflection has to be deeply personal. Speak about how it changed you, and what really helps is if you bring in a medical competency and speak about how it improved your ability to work with patients or how it's going to help you to be a better doctor in the future.